Hey, how's it going? Welcome to my front room. I'm Ricky Stewart. Welcome to 3D Leisure at Home. So this is functional conditioning yoga and some smart mobility. Smart mobility because I teach you how to use this extra range that we get from stretching. Because if you can't use it, it's not yours. It's fleeting, it's gone again. It goes in the wind. So if you get more flexible hamstrings because you keep stretching and touching your toes, and then you go back to your desk job and sit for 8 hours, how much of that extra mobility have you kept from your 45-minute yoga class? Not very much. You need to do it a lot, and it stacks up to be something that you can actually use because you're using it. So we think about, really smart to think about exercise as adaptation. So you're making your body adapt to the new things that you show it. And that can be anything. It can be a skill, it can be your handwriting, it can be running fast, jumping high, lifting weights, all of this. You need to do it enough to create an adaptation in your body. Neuromuscularly, like your brain can send these messages to do these new tasks at the level that you teach them. If you only do it once a week, it doesn't stick. It just won't stick. It won't be enough to make your body adapt. And that's why there needs to be some kind of push back. And what we're going to talk about a lot today is independence before interdependence. So we're going to do a little bit special on ankles and feet and walking and running and dancing and being able to make this stuff work, because your foundation, the thing that touches the floor, it's important. If that doesn't work, if your foundation is broken or flawed in any way, somewhere else has to take the slack, and it'll just keep, and you adapt to your mistakes even. Not mistakes, but you know what I mean. That we've got to get every little bit working nice to be able to get the whole thing working nice. So if I were to say improve your running, and I just was like, right, let's go, and we just set off running, I couldn't fix very much because you're already in motion. You've got all this interdependence. Your whole body is hitting the floor, and you're running like this, and your foot, your toe, your ankle, your knee, you hit the spine, the whole thing, everything is doing its job or not. It's too complicated. I'm good at this stuff. I'm really good at assessing how people move and fixing things, but it's too complicated. But what I can do is look at your foot and ask you if you've got a foot that can move, and you can make it be structurally strong and balance and bounce and be able to do the stuff. And then we go, right, can your ankle move? Can you do movements with your ankle and make that move? Can you then do movements with your ankle while it's on the floor? And then can we make your knee move? Can your knee do external, internal rotation? Can you get it to bend fully? Can you put load through it? Can you squat? Can you lunge? And it just goes on and on like this, all the way up the body to every single joint. And then when you've got a full team, we look at the running and see if we can make every single little bit work nice. That's why I think this is exciting. So let's get started then. We're going to start sat on the sofa. Just budge yourself right up to the edge of whatever you can sit on. It doesn't have to be a sofa, it can be a little ottoman, it can be a stool, it can be a chair, dining room chair, it doesn't really matter. I just want to see if you can feel your sit bones. So that's the ischial tuberosity. It's the bit of your pelvis that sticks out at the bottom, the bones that you sit on. And just soften. Calm everything down. Slow everything down. Your breath especially. Let your mouth close really gently. Relax your jaw. Soften shoulders more. See if you can expand and draw in. And expand and draw in. Slow this down and see if you can feel what happens. Okay. And then let's have a little think about our hamstring flexibility, because our foot and our ankle, that we're going to do a lot of focus on, relies on our hamstrings working well. Because if your hamstrings don't stretch, then your ankles will probably have to do the thing instead, or your foot will have to do the thing instead. It works both ways, that when one thing's missing from somewhere, the other place has to pick up. And what's important for our hamstrings is their attachment is on this ischial tuberosity, your sit bones. So the like little bit of your pelvis that sticks out. So when you flip your bottom rib up like this and tilt your pelvis back, you can imagine the hamstrings getting a little bit of length to them already here. I know it won't feel a stretch because your knees are bent. There's no attachment like below the knee. It's just there. Okay. Just see if you can sit and breathe with this bottom rib flipped up. If it helps you, put your fingertips just underneath your rib cage and just lift really gently. Push your belly out. Draw your belly in. Okay. And since we're all sat on the edge of something, we can do this little test to see if you can hinge forwards with your rib cage still flipped up. And it's like you're bringing your belly button down but leaving your chest up. That's it. Keep dropping down. See if you can pull shoulders away from your ears. Your hands can give you a little bit of help here. Just breathe here. You can imagine what shape your pelvis is in. You're kind of tilting it this way. If you had hold of your pockets like this and you push your thumb to push the top of your pelvis forwards and the bottom of your pelvis comes back, so we're getting this tilt here. Okay, then see if you can stand up like this. I can't really explain this, this is kind of hard, so see if I can take my bum off of here and then I'm going to keep my pelvis in that shape and I'm going to try and stand up. I can't get any further than that. My knees are reasonably bent still because I've pinned my pelvis, I've locked these muscles on here to try and lift and find this stretch. And I can quite easily straighten my legs out, but I can feel my pelvis is getting pulled. So where that attachment is on your sit bones kind of pulls my pelvis around and stretches lower back. I'm not after that. I want to see. So maybe pick yourself up, see if you can find this rib cage flipped up. It's going to take the muscles in your back to lift and try and find this hamstring stretch while your pelvis tilts this way. Breathe here. And I feel this stretch really quite high up in my hamstrings. And then stand all the way up. So when you stretch your hamstrings, let's do a little bit of focus on this for a second. And if you feel it really pokey in behind your knees, and we can probably find that actually if you lock your knees and try and stretch like this with knees really locked and then pull your head around, you'll probably find it does this stretch here. I'm not so keen on that because that's the connective tissue. It could be even your nerve getting stretched. We don't want our nerves to stretch, and because your knees are locked, there's no play, there's nowhere to kind of move around with that. But if I bend my knees a little bit and hinge forwards, and I'm going to try and keep my rib cage flipped up, look. So I could imagine this ischial tuberosity, there's these sit bones kind of coming up towards the ceiling. I've got my knees bent a little bit, so there's a little bit of play and I can explore this, and I feel this much more here in this part of my hamstrings, which is way more useful for me. There we go, then coming back up. Perfect. So we've had a little check-in with that. Let's have a little check-in with ankles. Let's go, if you just bend your standing leg and point one foot forwards, have a little bend in this knee and pull your toes back towards your kneecap and see if you can wave your foot side to side. So you're trying to show the sole of your foot forwards. Feel that. Feel this muscle here on the front of your shin. Make sure your knee stays really still, and it should get achy kind of quick. Then point your toes and wave your foot side to side. Breathe here. That's it. And see if you can make that full, big, controlled, articulate rotations. Imagine like you're drawing a square and you're trying to make that square as big as you possibly can. So go top left, top bottom right, god damn it, left and right. So bottom left, top right, bottom right. I think when I film with this front camera on the iPad, I think it flips it so it's mirror image. So this is my right hand. And I don't know which way you see it at all, so I'll just keep saying it like that and you can just kind of play along and copy me. There we go. Okay, so what's important as well here, so if we do the little wave first, so your heel just barely touches the floor, if at all, and just wave this foot side to side without your knee moving. So what's important here is that your standing foot is doing stability, it's doing the balance for you, so keep pulling toes back. So you'll know if you come to these classes often, I focus probably more on function than I do on expanding range. So the stretchy part of this class is quite often a little bit less, around 50-50, but normally a little bit less than the articulation part of this class. Because without understanding how to control your movement, I feel like there's no real benefit to finding extra range. There we go, now do these controlled articular rotations, trying to find extra shapes. Try and find more space to move into without moving your knee. It's very tiring on this standing leg. Do both directions as well. That's it. Okay. So what's important to realise as well with our feet is that our ankle function stood up like this is very different to our ankle function when we bend our knee like this. So doing those controlled articular rotations like this with a bent knee changes things slightly, and you need to learn both. So when you do your controlled articular rotations, you can do them seated, you can do them lying down, you can do them lying with you holding onto this tight. It will change things, and if you can get as many options as you can, we can do better. Before we do that, let's have a little look at our foot function. So I'm going to move sideways on, and if you can line up your big toe with your instep. So see how one foot just a little bit behind the other. I want you to push weight into the ball of this foot and try and go from straight knee to bent knee, straight knee to bent knee. So this knee kind of pops forwards with the ball of the foot pushing through the floor. You might find a little stretch on your instep. That's important. If you've ever suffered from plantar fasciitis, which is a terrible thing to have to suffer from, it's a lot to do with the muscles and connective tissue that runs along the sole of your foot. We can make that more mobile by progressively loading it and stretching it and making it do its job really well before you go on long walks, before you run, before you wear trainers and shoes that are all cushioned. Okay, there we go. Let's try that with the other foot. So your big toe is in line with your instep. We go from straight knee to bent knee, and I want to see this nice, even, like controlled passage from a locked knee to a bent knee. So there's no like knee-jerk reaction, like whoop, falling through this. So we're getting this ankle and the toes to perform together here. In a minute we're going to do stable ankle toe movement. A couple more now. Okay, so if you stand pretty much in a squat position, so whatever width you would do your squats in, I want you to hold this here. I want you to pin down the outside edge of your foot, so almost like you're lifting your instep up, but don't let the ball of your foot feel light. So if you're kind of like peeling the inside of your foot off the floor, that isn't it. Trying to pin down the outside edge of your foot and all the way across to the ball of your foot and push all your toes down. See if you can lift all of your toes, push all your toes down. With your knees bent, this is global toe function, so the whole, every toe all working together as a team, all pulling up. See how the knees are a little bit bent? Keep this up. Keep lifting and pushing down, lifting and pushing down. That's it. Okay, then can you leave all of your little toes down and lift your big toes individually? There's a strong chance you might not be able to do this. It might help if you kind of make your hands do the movement at the same time. For some reason that seems to help a lot of people. Just keep pushing the ball of your foot down and lifting the big toe. Getting your toes to move well and individually can help your ankle to perform, because you've got a better team. So the toes do their bit when they need to do their bit. Okay, big toes stay down and lift your little toes. What's important is you don't let your knees collapse to be able to lift your little toes. Look, so if you're kind of letting your knees come in to make your instep drop, to peel the whole outside edge of your foot up. That isn't it. It's little toes individually while you press big toes down. Okay, the next bit I think is probably my most important thing, and I think it's probably a reason I've gone up a shoe size, because I do this a lot and I think I've added mass to the muscles in my foot, just don't fit in my normal size shoe. I've gone up a whole size in like 3 years. Okay, let's go. Put your foot down forwards. I'm going my right foot. I'm going to put my big toe down and try and spread my toes out. So imagine I've glued my big toe down, then I'm spreading the rest of the toes out. I've got a bit of a gap there. Then if I lift my heel about 3 millimeters off the floor, barely, so I can even still feel the carpet just touching my heel. I've glued down the pad of my foot, so all the front edge of my foot. If I pull my knee out to the side, pull my heel across my body, heel out the other way, and my knee goes side to side like this, and my heel goes the other way. So as my knee goes this way, my heel goes that way. As my knee goes this way, my heel goes that way. And the middle of my foot is bending. So I'm trying to fold my foot up. As my knee goes to the outside of my body, my instep scrunches up. As my knee comes across, my instep stretches out. This movement and getting it strong, I can put more weight forward. So if I kind of drop my body forwards, I feel like I'm moving my whole body through this foot. And this is my change of direction. Whether I'm playing competitive sport or not, I need this stuff to be able to even like push a heavy trolley around the supermarket and be able to twist it around the corner. If I've got a strong foundation from the floor, I can do it. There we go. Let's try this on the other side. So let's go through all those teaching cues again. Push your big toe down, lift up the other toes and kind of spread your toes out as much as you can. If you can visually see a little gap in between every toe, then you're winning at this. Lift your heel just a little bit, so your heel is just barely off the floor. Heel comes across, knee goes out, and then this swap. So your instep is bending for you to do this. Don't let your heel lift too high. It's a habit of some people to do this like this. You don't quite get it then. That heel kind of almost brushes across the floor. Try to push as much weight as I can down through my foot. I love doing this stuff. I love teaching it in person the best because I can show them very quickly how this stuff relates to their movement by getting them to do things, but it's not quite the same across video. And I realise it's not as big a bang as for your buck as stretching your hamstrings. It's such a big muscle that you really can feel, and it's the kind of thing we think about the most when we ask if someone's flexible. They say, well, I can't touch my toes. That's our measure. Whereas, can you bend your foot in the middle isn't really a question that anyone ever asks themselves. Whereas it's arguably more important that your foundation is good before you look at whether or not your hamstrings can work. Okay, there we go. All right, and then very quickly we'll finish this ankle stuff now with a bit of balance. So, get this footprint on one foot. This back foot just taps the floor. Bend your knee a little bit and pin down the outside edge of your foot. Ball of your foot down. I want you to reach your left leg back, reach your right hand forwards, so opposite hand to opposite foot, and then let them swap spaces, and then swap and swap and swap and swap. If you can keep your head right over the top of this standing foot, then this balance should be a little bit easier. Even if you do lose it a little bit, like if I come out to the side a bit, I'm still managing to keep this structure. And there's something really powerful about movement and balance at the same time. If you're going to run, then you spend time on one leg because the other one's in the air. Spend time in mid-air even. So if you can get yourself to be able to be balanced, ready to hit the floor, hit the floor, hit the floor with every stride, then you can win at running fast. Yes, there we go. Okay. Like I always say, it doesn't matter if your running days are done. Doesn't matter to be able to give yourself the building blocks of it, or as close as you can get, and progressively get closer and closer to being able to run. It doesn't matter if you don't run. You've got the building blocks. You've got stuff that works. Sorry, let's slow this down. Tap this foot back here, do a little bend in this standing leg, pin down the outside edge of your foot and pouring weight down here, and I've got the width of my foot pushing down through the floor, so my big toe kind of pushes down to keep my ball of my foot down, to keep the outside edge of my foot down. And then if I reach forwards with this opposite hand, and then this swap spaces. That's it. Keep finding this. See, I'm like kind of lifting my knee, pushing down, pushing down. Come on, can see if I can keep this balance. Yes. I like these little fixes where I go a little bit too far, a little bit too fast. I miss part of the movement maybe, and then I fix it, and that's wins for me, that I can dig in enough to make something happen. Yes, there we go. Okay, let's think more about this hamstring and back stuff and which way your hips are tilted. So before we do that, let's really feel our hips being able to, our pelvis being able to move. So if you bring hands down, I want you to curl your back as much as you can here, tuck your tailbone under, so you can feel like you're stretching all this stuff out. Everything down your back is getting stretched. And then see if you can just move your pelvis, and then just move your pelvis. Really try and tune in to not letting this happen from the middle of your back. So if it goes like this, look, this is global spine movement pretty much, not including my very top of my back and my neck, but it's almost everything. That's very different to this. See if you can really find only lower back. Then see if you can do a little side bend. You squeeze rib cage towards the side of your hip, rib cage towards the side of your hip. Perfect. And then I want you to hold yourself in extension like this and hold it. Hold it, hold it, hold it. See if you can rock back and rock forwards. Don't let your back change shape. So essentially we're almost finding this little stretch of our glutes possibly as you go back here. All these back muscles are kind of on and holding, and think of this as the same as when I tell you to flip your bottom rib up, moving back, moving forwards, moving back, moving forwards. Go two more. And then back into a little bit of just lumbar spine stuff, so only pelvis movement. Okay, let's go into this hamstring stretch on one knee. So it might help if you've got your hand on your sofa or something. We just bring one foot forwards like this. You can always put a cushion under your knee if your knee's not very comfortable for kneeling. So we need to bend this knee a little bit out in front of us. Put your hand on your lower back and see if you can get into this lumbar extension again. So it's flipping the rib cage up. See if you can keep it like this, and then try and find hamstring stretch without losing this bit of lumbar extension. Hold it. And it's probably going to be quite humbling, because you're not going to be able to fold over very far. I'm kind of flexible, I'm not like doing the splits or anything, but I'm better than your average weightlifting man, because I'm a yoga teacher. But it's because I'm holding myself to this quality of shape in my back. And it's not between right and wrong, it's just an option, and we know that options win. Having the more options gives you more places to move into, and things and ways to share the load and insult of our lives through as many joints, as many muscles as we can. Keep holding this. Keep flipping this bottom rib up. Start driving your heel down now. So this heel is going to push down. I want you to see if you can find any more stretch while you drive this heel down. Keep pulling forwards, keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling. holding a little bit further, and then slowly let this spine come out of that shape. See if you can curl it around, and then you can kind of see that you've probably got a lot more range than you realise, but it's shared out between your hamstrings and your back muscles. And then lift yourself back up, find yourself back into this lumbar extension. See if you'll probably need a hand on a sofa. See if you can find hip flexor and lift this foot while you hold lumbar extension. Keep lifting, going 3, 2, 1, swap legs. So, little bend in this front leg, make sure it's not locked out. Find lumbar extension, so flip up this bottom rib, and then see if you can peel forwards a little bit. Can you imagine, so you're, just while we're in this shape, because I think it's really important you know what it is that's going on, why you can't find more range. So while your pelvis is tilted this way, so you could even grab hold of your pockets either side and push your thumb into the top of your pelvis. So imagine pushing your lumbar spine forwards a little bit. The attachment of this long hamstring muscle here is underneath your bum, on your sit bones, on the ischial tuberosity. It's further back, therefore creating this stretch here. If I let my pelvis curl under like this, then I can fully get nose to knee, and it's not that much of an issue. It's not that I've got stretchy hamstrings that gives me the ability to do that. It's that I'm stretching this stuff here. These muscles in my lower back end up going to their end range when I'm trying to look at how flexible my hamstrings are. And it's not ideal. It's not a good way to only do things. And that shape where I put my nose against my knee, I don't think that's the wrong shape to be in at all ever. It's just that if we're going to make hamstrings perform, in that I want them to be able to contract, to be strong, to be springy, to help me jump high, to make me to be able to lift heavy things from the floor, to be able to jump off of a wall and cushion my landing. I want my hamstrings to be hamstrings. And stretching out this stuff here doesn't help my hamstrings be hamstrings. This helps my hamstring be a hamstring. Just keep with this. Keep flipping this bottom rib up. See if you can get any further. Right, now start doing some work. So pushing your heel down, push harder and harder, find this hamstring strength, this hamstring like tension, and see, don't let this bottom rib kind of curl down like this. Keep it up, keep this pelvis in the same position it's been in. Keep pushing, try and find this stretch. Going 3, 2, 1, and then curl yourself down. Let your pelvis turn, but then we need to be able to get it back again as you lift. Pull yourself back into this and see if you can feel this pelvis do the change, and then lift your foot. Make this hip flexor work. Holding. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Then coming back up in standing, let's have a little think about these hamstrings. You'll have done this with me before, or if you stand, push the weight through the ball of your foot. I want you to pull your heel up towards your bum, and then your foot kind of slides up and down your leg. Doesn't need to touch, but it's just a nice cue to see whether you're getting it. So your hamstring contracting and coming back down, hamstring contracts and comes back down. So I want to know you can stretch all of this stuff out in your knee. This hip flexor working while the hamstring contracts. And last one. Perfect. Now let's try that on the other side. So you go tiptoes, slide this foot up your leg, back down. We'll do about 10 of these-ish. That's it. Keep going. one. I know that was more than 10. It's alright. Okay, and then go slightly wider feet, a little bend in both knees, pin down the outside edge of your foot and almost fall forwards. So your big toes catch you. A little bend in both of these knees, flip up this bottom rib, and then see if you can keep this bottom rib flipped up. Maybe put your hands here just as a little cue that you're not going to change shapes here. You'll need to tense these muscles as you drop into a hamstring stretch with this bottom rib flipped up. That feels really different for me actually now. You can kind of tell. I'm going to move my hips side to side. I'm trying to look for the stretch on one side and then the other, one side and then the other. Breathe, maybe bring hands onto shins. And slowly, slowly start curling down, coming down, coming down. Maybe bring palms down. And then see if I can lift my chest back up again to re-find this pelvic position that I'm trying to pull my sit bones up away from the floor and stand all the way up. Alright, so I said I was going to keep a focus on this, let's stick with it. So if you can get the edge of your sofa, arm of your sofa, and bring your shin across like this. And remember that it's the same if the arm of your sofa is too high, too low, too weird, whatever you've got going on, you can go in facing into the sofa and do the same, but you're on one knee, and you can put cushions under your knee to lift yourself up. You can put books underneath your foot to lift yourself up, but we're trying to get this external rotation of the hip. And just hinge down and see if you can find this stretch down the outside of your hip. I like this standing version probably the best. I much prefer it actually, because I can kind of search out what it is that I need. I can drop my hips, I can move my hips side to side, I can go tiptoes, I can bend my knee, there's so many options here. When the floor's in the way and I do pigeon stretch or 90-90, the floor's in the way. I can't get past the floor, so my exploration is limited by never going below this. Nothing goes below this ankle, because the ankle's on the floor, that's it. That's the baseline. This, I can drop my pocket way below this and find different shape, while my back maybe does this shape. If that's what I want to train, that I can get this rib cage to flip up, and I can keep this kind of natural curve in my lower back. It shows my hip how to be a hip in this shape, and like I said, many options as we can get is always better overall. Okay. Start pushing your shin down. Push kind of hard. Really drive your ankle, your shin down. Keep pushing. Keep getting stronger. Keep pushing. Keep pushing, keep pushing. Keep it going. 3, 2, 1, and then I want you to peel down, but still try and lift this bottom rib. So you try to drop your belly button, but you're still trying to peel your chest up at the same time. Then I want you to push this shin down as hard as you possibly can. Drive down with this ankle, this knee. Keep pushing, and then let your spine curl around. And lift it up, and then let's see if we can get any air time here. And it doesn't matter if you do or you don't, we're still going to try lift this foot, lift this knee. It takes a lot of tension from this standing leg. I'm going to push my hands down, tense the muscles in my belly, keep lifting, going 3, 2, 1, and then drop. Yes. Okay, swapping legs. So this ankle comes across like this, and if this is too high for you, so I'm only short, but I know that there's so many people would not get their shin across here. So many of my clients suffer with such tight muscles here that this wouldn't happen. So I would, if this was my tool that I could, and it was the only thing I had to work with, I'd just put books underneath their feet until they were high enough that they can deal, or a step or something, a little stool even, so that they've got space to be able to explore it. And you can do that as well. And it's kind of a little bit easier if you do the kneeling version on the floor, because we've all got like 4 cushions. If I stack those 4 cushions under my knee, I'm going to gain by about this much height. It's not very much, but it'd be enough that I could maybe be here, and I'm not asking my hip, this muscle, to stretch until this shin goes parallel with my pockets. Hope that makes sense. Flip this bottom rib up then, and see if you can keep this bottom rib flipped up as you hinge into this. You might need to explore this a little bit by moving your hips side to side a little bit. Shoulders down away from ears. Keep breathing. That's it. Then start pushing your shin down. Load this up. Push down as hard as you can and keep driving this shin down through your sofa. So you're trying to connect to these muscles while they're being stretched, and maybe even drop your belly down a little bit lower. And pick yourself back up. Stand up tall. Maybe put your hands either side of your leg and try and lift this foot. So you're connecting to this hip flexor, really trying to get control over this end range. Keep holding. 3, 2, 1, drop. Okay, so let's have a little look at camel pose. So this is quite a tough one. For years actually, I shied away from teaching this because the exit out of it was awkward for me. And I'm strong and I'm flexible, but that exit always felt like I was having to fight or flight my way out of it. So I've kind of done a lot of research into this pose and ways of getting this stretch and this structural integrity to make it work. So if you kneel, push your heels together, so you feel bum muscles tense. We're going to stabilise the muscles in our back by doing this. Reach your hands up, keep your heels pushing together. Try and pull your elbows down into your back pockets, and then pull your fists back. And try and pull your shoulder blades down into your back pockets all at the same time. So that doesn't let go. Flip your rib cage up and then drop back, pushing heels together. And see if you can lift yourself back up again. Hopefully you only went as far as you were really comfortable. So we're going to do that again, except this time I want you to reach your hands down and touch your heels. You don't have to actually touch your heels, you're just kind of reaching for them. So let's set up again. Just make yourself loose. Push heels together, reach your arms up, elbows into back pockets, pull your fists back, shoulder blades down your back into back pockets, reach those arms back, flip the bottom rib up, maybe touch your heels, bring it back. And hopefully you're only going as far as you can deal. So that's quite a tough one. It takes these muscles here to be able to do it really well. And we can do this with our feet a bit wider, which means you lose the ability to tense your bum muscles to protect everything here, but you can find it if you can just squeeze those bum cheeks on. Let's see if we can get a little bit further this time, but remember you're only going as far as you are really comfortable. So let's set up again. Tense your bum muscles, squeeze bum cheeks together, reach your arms up, elbows into back pockets, pull your fists back, reach hands down, flip the bottom rib up, and maybe reach your fingertips to the floor this time, and see if you can lower yourself down just a bit at a time. Maybe elbows down, maybe head down. And pull yourself back up. And that's enough for that pose, because it's hard. It makes me out of breath, it makes me struggle. But remember, it's fine. Do any version of that, and even if it only looks like this. That's it. You're getting comfortable here, making sure there's no pain in your lower back, that these muscles can pull you back from the brink. You're learning. And then bring yourself back into seated. We're not quite finished yet, but I want to just get us into a position that we can think about this lumbar position again. So can you make those sit bones tilt And when you find this natural place where we've got this curve in our lower back that goes like this, because we are like an S shape, so it goes from the back of our head around, around, forwards, and back again. Let's keep that. Let's see if you can just keep it and do little side bends. And breathe. And let's think about our shoulders. So I want you to pin your torso in a position. So you've got it set that this is where your torso is going to live. Your shoulders aren't going to turn, you're not going to collapse down, you're not going to fall back. You're in your shape. Push your hands down into your thighs, reach up your right arm and pull it back behind your ear without turning your chest like this. Reach your elbow into your back pocket, reach up and then reach back until you hit your cushion or the back of your sofa. Pick it back up, reach your elbow into your back pocket, reach it up and back and touch the sofa behind you. And see if you can find all this rear stuff in your shoulder for all of this movement. Let's go one more. Perfect. Let's try the other side. Let's just move around a bit, get yourself set. Flip this bottom rib up, set yourself. Maybe push your hands down into your legs, reach this arm up, pull elbow into your back pocket, reach it up, reach back. Elbow into back pocket, reach it up, reach it back. Couple more. Left arm needs to learn, but that's kind of what we're here for. And then just explore your spine just a little bit more. Let's finish off. If you cross your arms over your knees, pull your shoulder blades apart, just tuck your chin and roll down and breathe here. And coming back up. Bring palms together. Thumbs to forehead, tuck your chin and roll forwards. Namaste. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I appreciate you all so much. Keep dropping me little messages, let me know how you're getting on. Give me the stuff that you need to work on. If you feel like there's something you're missing in your practice, we'll add it in. We'll work it out. Whether it's wrists, ankles, knees, hips, doesn't matter. It'll be good. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you all very soon. Bye.